Hey, everybody.
Hi, friends.
Oh, my goodness. We have, I think, a really fun show for you guys today.
I mean, it's a great show. My energy is going to be low, but it has nothing to do with the show. It has to do with the fact that I am on my deathbed. We are talking to Bess Wohl, writer and director of the new critically acclaimed postpartum horror film, Baby Ruby.
And then we're going to talk about gender in this day and age in schools.
But as always, we have our hashtag swag bag. And up next, take it away, kiddo.
Do you want to go first?
Sure. I'll go with my shits, which is I have been sick for far too long. And I'm finally on antibiotic. I don't really want to talk about it anymore, but just like I'm really struggling. So I apologize that you guys have had to listen to this voice and if my energy has been a little low. But man, it's real.
Well, tell people, I think you should tell people what you have because I think they might be worried at this point.
Well, I have bronchitis, acute sinusitis, and acute asthma. Basically, I guess I'm just cute because that's what they're telling me. I had COVID over the summer and my breathing has never been the same. And my asthma was like not a big deal my whole life, except after COVID, it got really bad. So that's kind of what's going on. And I didn't want to run to the doctor right away because I'm like, viral, like whatever. But now it's gone
Because you're
on
a
too long.
mom and because, life in general, there's a
Right.
zillion other things that need to happen.
Right. So don't worry. I don't need a GoFundMe. I just need a nap, really. The other shits, that should be a shirt. I don't need a GoFundMe. I need a nap. I'm going to write that down. Although I could just think that's brilliant because I'm on so many medications. Hold on. I don't need a GoFundMe. That's right. T-shirt ideas. Oh, my other shits are that I thought it was a good idea when both me and my daughter are sick to cut her hair yesterday, and it didn't go great. So we're going to have to go to pigtails and crew cuts and get a little evened off. I cut about
Is
2 inches
what the
off the
place is
bottom.
called?
Yeah, it's called pigtails and crew cuts.
What a strange name.
It's the kids one, where they have like rocket
Like
ships and
airplanes
yeah,
and
yeah,
shit
yeah.
like that. What a funny name.
She was like crying and moving around, like she had so many rat's ends in the bottom of her long hair. I was just like hacking it off. It was like it was a shit show. My tits are this mascara gate with Michaela.
Those are your tits?
Yeah, my tits are. I mean, listen, I don't have many tits right now. I'm feeling so ill, but I'm just loving this drama. Like, it's just interesting to me. I love when there's drama that's not my drama. Like,
Oh
it's
yeah,
so
that's why I love
nice.
reality TV.
It's so nice when it's not involving you, but you feel like you're in on it. I mean, at one end, poor Michaela. So, guys, if you guys don't already know, it's like a hot goss, but not. It's like a TikTok K-hole hot goss, tits and shits. Michaela is that Boston influencer that talks real like low class or whatever.
She's like,
And
now we're gonna try House Labs.
House Labs
She's like
really thick foundation.
I'm convinced
It's like
every
she's a
man hates
Subway
the sound of her
trucker.
voice.
I mean,
Because
I
my
don't love it either, but
Matt hates it, my dad hates it. I don't know one man. I like Boston accents. I think they're fun, so.
anyway, she should also be the face of Dunkin' Donuts. But anyway, she was using the telescopic mascara and she was like, look, she said it before and then she did it after. And they say that she was wearing lashes with it. And
They've
so
done some
now,
zoom ins and such, and it does look like
weird.
she's wearing some lashes.
Right.
Very thin, very maybe like one piece, but it's
Right.
there.
And then the ghost of Jeffree Star, who's been in hiding, who looks like he is Voldemort at this point.
People. Okay, that was such a stutter. Feel free to leave that in because that was just so weird. It's not even Voldemort to me. It's not Nosferatu.
Yeah,
Nosferatu.
Nosferatu.
Nosferatu is what Jeffree Star looks like to me. He's the most horrifying person.
He basically woke up from his social media grave and was like, "Girl, you're wearing lashes."
And then it came out that he's dating someone in the NFL, and it's
I know,
NFL
love that.
gate.
I know, I
that's
love
a whole
that.
other thing.
I mean, listen, I think that there's lots of things at play here. She probably has lashes glued on her eyes, so how can she do a mascara review anyway?
Yeah, she probably has a lash extension for the most part.
Right. And then other people have done the side by side who don't have it, and they say it is a good mascara and it does work. So the shame of it is that it was actually like a pro sell, but she made it look bad by having lashes, right? but also like she's a person who likes to have stuff done to her.
Yeah. Yeah.
So she's out about having her lips done. She probably has extensions on, so that does make it a little bit trickier but she should have probably said it on the video. Like, you
Yeah.
can see I have some on my ends, whatever. Anyway, I feel bad because I feel like I kind of like her as an influencer, but
Me too.
she's been coming under scrutiny and fire a lot these days. So I think her time I hope she's saving her money because I think her time might be coming to an end.
I have one more thing on that front that is driving me crazy is my former queen, Bethany Frankel. She just is constantly on the wrong side of things, and it drives me crazy. And there really isn't a right side and a wrong side, but like with her whole take with Meghan Markle, like whether you agree with her or not, she's a public figure, and at this point, just shut your mouth. Like, people are calling you racist, shut your mouth.
Right.
And now with this Michaela thing, she's like kind of on Michaela's team about she's just constantly on the wrong side. It drives me crazy.
And then you sent me a thing about this TikToker who posted something that she got together with this dude whose wife died in childbirth.
Yeah.
And she started dating him like months.
And they say like that's their child.
Right. And all these people are like, what's going on? Listen, I love drama, but this is what I have to say. I know a lot of people that after their spouse died, got together with someone pretty quickly. And I know a lot of them, it was like a best friend or a close relation. Grieving is hard, and it must be hard to have your wife die right after she has a baby and not know what to do with the baby. I wouldn't call it our baby. I would say that's my stepdaughter, but great that they found love. They're having a baby together too, and great that they found love and that she loves that child and all that business. But it's just sort of the way that they're saying it's her baby is sort of erasing the mother out of it, which is weird. But the fact that they got together so quickly, that does happen a lot. And, it seems weird, but whatever. If that kid's going to have a good life, just let that kid have a good life.
I mean, I hear your point, and I get what you're saying, but I would come back and haunt the shit out of her.
I was just going to say that mom is going to hunt the fuck out of her.
I would haunt. If that was Matt and some other biddy, I would haunt the fuck out of him. I would take care of that baby, but I would haunt the shit out of him.
Yep, anyway. I agree. Would you like to go, Ashley?
Yes, that's right. I didn't even do tits and shits last week. So my shits are, let me ask you a question. What is, of all the domestic chores, what is your number one least favorite?
Washing the bathroom.
Just cleaning the bathroom in general?
Like floors, yeah. I don't like cleaning.
Mine is cleaning the dishwasher, which I bet if I did it more than once every year and a half, it would not be as awful.
I've never done it.
it is the most revolting job there's like you gotta disassemble things, and there's all kinds of like weird crud, and I found a sprout growing out of some food particle. Ugh. And then you have to like take out the filter, and the filter is covered in like white
I watched a TikTok about it.
Look.
Yeah,
it looks like that like nasty cottage
I hope you guys aren't
you have
eating
in your
right
underwear.
now.
Yeah, it is so. I hate it so much, and I just did it before we recorded, and I just needed to say how much I absolutely hate cleaning the dishwasher, but it's off my to-do list, my January long-term things that needed to be taken care of, because today's the last day of January that we're recording this, right?
Yeah, I mean, if I have any energy left in my body, I'll do that sometime soon.
I'm saving the oven cleaning for the end of the week when it gets to be like 5 degrees or whatever it's going to be, because that's going to take like 4 hours. Anyway, my tits are, I'm sorry, I hope you don't think that I'm like making a dig at you. This has nothing to do with you, and I feel terrible that you're feeling so sick, but I've been feeling pretty decent lately, and I have really like tried. I was feeling so sick for so long, and I am just relieved to not feel so fucking terrible. And it's really nice. And it, like, I finished that Athletic Greens subscription, and I tried another green powder we had in the basement that we were buying for smoothies. Didn't do the same thing. Didn't give me energy the way the Athletic Greens did. Reordered it, like paying. I don't care. I don't care how much this Athletic Greens shit or anything else costs me. I just want to feel good.
Guys, I just have to share something. As Ashley was talking and I was only medium listening, I felt like my hands were vibrating. And I thought, am I so sick that I have the shakes, or am I so high that I now can sense earthquakes with my hands? That's it.
That's great. I thought Baby Ruby was incredible. I have been calling it, when I was trying to summarize it to my husband, a postpartum horror film, if you will. It tells the story of a woman who was absolutely rocked emotionally by having a baby, and she's this seemingly perfect and domesticated woman at that. So I think my main question for you is this a story of general postpartum fourth trimester feelings, or did you aim to write a story about postpartum depression specifically?
That's a great question. I think the answer is kind of yes, both. I think you don't have to have had postpartum depression to relate to some of the feelings that this character goes through. And in fact, a lot of moms who, outwardly seemed fine, quote unquote, fine, as they went through the experience, have come up to me since seeing this film and said, like, did you read my diary? Like, how did you get inside my head? So I think it's not exclusively about postpartum depression. But I think that that's also a very serious and important piece of the conversation when we're talking about the experience of becoming a new mother. So, I think the movie has room for people who just, had like, what they call the baby blues, or a sense of, dislocation, or the sort of natural sort of identity destabilization that happens when you become a parent, and people who, have unfortunately experienced the full range. I think it's both, really.
Keri and I talk about this extensively because she had postpartum depression, and I just had the baby blues, or whatever you want to call it. And I related to so many parts of this film where it was just like constantly feeling like myself and my child were in danger, even though it wasn't to that fullest extent.
And I was just going to say, I've talked about with my sister for years how the whole process of trying to get pregnant, being pregnant, carrying the baby inside your body, all of it is kind of like a weird, creepy sci-fi horror movie, because it's so bizarre and alienate. The whole thing is just, it's supposed to be, quote unquote, the most natural thing, and yet it feels so foreign and bizarre. On that note, and I apologize, my voice, what inspired you to write a film like this? Like, did you have a kind of a tricky postpartum experience yourself, if I may ask?
Yeah. I mean, I have 3 children, and while nothing, thankfully, as extreme as what happens in this movie happened to me, I did sort of experience the germs of all of these feelings, and the exact things that you're both talking about, the anxiety, the feeling of like, am I losing my mind? You
go back to an animal state or something. Yeah.
Absolutely do. And a lot of the tropes of horror are also present in the experience of new motherhood. And I think that was something that really struck me, like the sense of like a woman alone in a house. The feeling of isolation is sort of a classic horror. And yet that's also something that is so common to new mothers, right? This feeling of I'm all alone. There's a creature with me. I don't know. Well, I mean, this is like a horror film setup. So I think, what happened was these things started emerging in the experience that felt familiar to me, not from anything anyone had warned me about or anything that I knew before in my life, but from the sort of horror films that I had seen. And I thought, this experience needs to be looked at through that lens.
So, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. Noemi.
Yes, that was
Okay.
yes.
Noemi Merlant, who was Portrait of a Lady on
Fancy.
Fire, and Tar, which I just saw, is the star of this film. But what I found really fascinating is she is not a mother in real life, and yet you would never ever know that from watching her.
It's called acting, baby.
I know, but there is no way to know what that feels like without having been through it, in my opinion. And although she is truly incredible, how was this performance possible? And how did you, as the director, a mother of 3 kids, pull this performance from her? And I don't mean to underestimate her, because she's incredible.
Yeah.
But can you speak to what you may have done to really, what pep talks? I don't know.
Well, it's interesting because, first of all, as you said, she's an incredible actress. Like,
Totally.
she's just absolutely magnificent and so deeply committed to anything that she does on like a cellular level. She's incredibly physical. She's incredibly intuitive. Her instincts are just outrageously perfect. So that's the first piece. I think in a way, I thought that her not having been a mother would have been an impediment, but in a way it was perfect, because Jo has also never been a mother when the experience hits her. Like, she has no idea what she's doing either. So the fact that Noemi felt like she couldn't really relate to the babies, or she didn't know how to hold a baby, or she didn't know how to stop a baby from crying, in a way, those are the exact things that the character is going through. So I spent like 30 seconds thinking, oh God, I'm gonna have to teach her all this stuff about being a mother. And then I sort of stopped myself and thought, wait a minute, I'm not gonna teach her anything, actually, because Jo doesn't know anything. And it's this sort of beautiful moment where the actor and the character are in the exact same circumstance, which is, what do I do with this baby?
Yeah.
So in a way,
I remember that feeling so strongly, just looking into my baby's face and being like, hey,
Like, you came out of me, but I don't know how to hold you because you're just squishy.
I don't
and
know
you fall
you.
over, and
you don't know me, but
right,
we have the most intimate this is weird.
right, totally weird.
totally. And everyone around you saying like, this is going to be the most
Natural thing ever.
Yeah, the second you look into your baby's eyes, everything will be revealed. You'll know exactly
Bullshit.
what to do. I'm
Bullshit. Yeah.
so weird. It's like, what, this sense of, I don't know. That wasn't my experience.
No. We had Amy Kopelman on the show last year for the film A Mouthful of Air, which she wrote and directed, and also deals with postpartum depression. Postpartum, in that case, the movie, it was very severe depression and the journey into motherhood. For us as the Momtourage, as women in the motherhood space, it's really incredible that these stories are being told, because just 5 years ago alone, when we started this whole venture, it was not being told. And it's needed. It's so needed. And to be destigmatized and just brought out into the open. One of the most memorable parts of our interview with Amy was how long it took for her and how difficult it was for her to get that film made. I mean, personally, this is off script, but I think,
and even the book version published, which,
I'm just saying, we're also all women, so that's a part of it too. But did you have that to be, that's my child, she's homesick. Isn't that lovely? You were worth it, baby. You're no horror story. Did you find that to be the case? Like, how hard was it for you to get this made? Like, what kind of obstacles did you have to jump to get this made?
Well, I think you're right in that the conversation is really possible now in a way that it wasn't even a couple of years ago. And I'm so excited by that fact. And there's so many, especially women filmmakers, coming to the forefront. And, the more women filmmakers you have, the more stories about women that feel authentic and truthful are going to be told. So, I think there's really a sea change. I think the world is waking up to the fact that women are half of the population and deserve to have our stories told. I remember,
might even be more than half, but yeah.
51. I think it's 51.
Yeah.
When I was first starting out writing screenplays, I remember vividly an agent saying to me, because I said like, oh, I think I'm interested in stories about women. And one of my first agents, this was when I was just writing, not making films, he said, well, don't tell anyone that you write stories about women. And I said, why? And he's like, you don't want to get pigeonholed into women things.
Into Lifetime television, only stories for women.
I was like, pigeonholed into what more than half of the people on the planet are feeling.
It's a good statistic. Yeah, it's actually pretty good.
That's the majority, but you know, to hear that at the time. So, you know, no one would say that anymore. You know, that was maybe 10 or 15 years ago. Now it's like, there's a sense that these stories are valid and they need to be told. And so thankfully, I think I was able to sort of profit from a lot of women who came before me who banged those doors open and made it just, you know, that little bit easier for me to push it open and, you know, get this story told and get it told with so many amazing collaborators.
I mean, all the horror shows that are happening in the world right now, this is an exciting thing. It's this part of it gives me excitement that we are taking back the narrative, that we are starting to like stand for our place, our being women, I guess, are in this narrative, and these stories are being told. So thank you so much for that.
I mean, I just remember the first time hearing about postpartum was the whole ordeal with Brooke Shields on the Today Show, that then turned into the Tom Cruise Scientology thing. Like that was the first thing I've heard. And now between this and the other film we mentioned, it's starting to come to light. I feel like this and menopause, you know, how all these celebrities are getting into these lines for menopausal women. Like it's
another
so
horror
nice.
show, another horror show.
It's just nice to see this happening for us all collectively.
Yeah.
Okay, so we ask all of our guests this. What is the number one thing you think every parent should outsource if they have the means to do so?
Oh, wow.
Where do you start?
Yeah.
Where do you start? I know. To me, this is the first, I'll just say the first thing that popped into my mind.
This is a judgment-free zone.
Hard thing. But there's a lot of ways to outsource it. To me, the cooking and feeding of the children is the thing, you know, even if it's like opening a can of soup is your outsourcing versus making if you can do that, God bless you. I am so impressed, but I just find it very, you know, almost impossible after, like, whether you're at home with your kids or whether you're in the, you know, going off to a job, whatever your life is, the last thing I want to do at 5 o'clock is like cook a gourmet meal for my children. So
I mean, I only have two people to cook for, my partner and my daughter, and they all of us have different tastes. I can't imagine having more than one kid and adding more differences in there. Oof.
no,
It might be nightmare fuel.
I mean, the when I discovered you could like open a box of frozen chicken nuggets and pour it onto a baking sheet and shove it in the oven, that was like
Life-changing.
This is the life-changing moment for me. Yeah.
By the way, there have been people who have flat out said raising my child to that question, which I also don't blame them. I don't fault them at all for that answer. So truly judgment-free.
I don't know. Yeah. What are some of your most popular answers to that? I'm so curious.
I mean, cleaning for sure.
Cleaning, cooking and laundry are probably the most
Childcare
often ones, but we've heard other things like putting car seats in and completely having somebody else raise the kid.
I would have outsourced the actual carrying the child and birthing the child. That's going to be my next. I would have outsourced that. That was not a great experience for me. I could outsource that.
I want to outsource the anxiety. That's what I want to outsource. I don't even think that's possible, but.
Well, or the guilt. The guilt would be a great thing to outsource if you could. I know if you could only keep like the joyful parts, because the thing about, you know, as you both know, like there's so much joy to it. I think that the hardest experiences in life are the best experiences.
Yep.
For me, motherhood is all of it. And, you know, the point of this movie is like, how do we make space for all of it and not judge. So I love that you said judgment-free zone, because that's part of what I'm trying to foster with this film.
Well, that's what we do. That's the whole point and whole goal of our podcast. And it's, you know, a
Just
place for
real.
women
That's
who are
all that
more
matters.
than mothers. It's all of that. So totally.
Please plug yourself, plug the film, tell us where to find it, do all the stuff.
Yes, Bess Wohl, first-time filmmaker. And it is Baby Ruby is in theaters and everywhere digitally on February 3rd, Friday.
And we will personally see you on Friday at the screening. So
Yay. All right. Well, come say hi. I can't wait to see you.
Yeah.
we will for sure. Thank you so much for everything. Can't wait to see how people receive this film, because I think it's going to be so awesome for so many women.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for having me. It's so fun to talk.
Thank you.
Awesome. Have a great day. Okay, so this next segment has been like a real hot button topic on my mind lately. As you guys know, I've been teaching a lot with kids of various ages over the summer in schools here throughout the year, and all throughout every place that I've been teaching. This idea of gender and how we're going to handle gender is really like a hot button item, and navigating it myself as an educator has been tricky, trying to give respect to the children, make sense of it myself, because I'm still trying to figure out all the pronouns and stuff and the etiquette, because it wasn't a thing. It didn't used to be as big of a thing.
And
And
also
then-
probably considering parents too, because as a parent, I like feel a little weird about that. I get it, but I feel weird about the fact that teachers don't have to tell us those
Well,
things.
that's where I was getting to. Yeah. I mean, and then the conversations that I've had with Lee about like thinking about ahead for Luna, you know, it's tricky. So this article just came out about gender identity students and parents and in schools. So basically, right now, the protocol says it's sort of like if you take your kid to a child psychologist, it's the doctor-patient confidentiality contract. So schools
Like
and
HIPAA.
teachers, schools and teachers are not necessarily required to tell parents about gender changes if the kid asks them not to tell. Now, it varies. I'm jumping around a little bit, but it really varies from state to state about what the rules are. But schools are doing their best to try to keep students safe and comfortable. One of the quotes said, when you're trans, you feel like you're in danger all the time, even though this person who was saying, even though my parents were accepting, I was still scared. And that's why school didn't tell them. So you should just know that although the number of young people who identify as transgender in the US still remains kind of small, it has nearly doubled in recent years. And schools have come under pressure to address the needs of these young people amid this very polarized political environment where both sides warn that like one step in one misstep could really result in irreparable harm, which is frightening when we talk about children.
In both ways, I'm
Yes,
sure. Like,
yes.
I'm sure as a school, it's scary because it's not only irreparable damage that can happen to the children, it's also one misstep on the behalf of the school.
And the teacher.
And the teacher
And
could
the
be
individual,
absolutely detrimental to the school and the teacher as
Right.
well. It's what a hard situation to
and
be
amongst
in.
and amongst already a situation with COVID where teachers are also overtaxed and on, anyway, I'm not siding with the teachers. I'm just saying this is a tricky situation.
I think it's incredibly tricky. I think
Yeah.
there's both sides have valid points. I would get why you would side with the teacher in all honesty.
So different schools have different protocols on what to tell parents and what not to tell parents. Districts have said that they want parents to be involved, but must follow federal and in some cases state guidance that is meant to protect students from discrimination and violations of their privacy.
So in a state like Florida, where with their "Don't Say Gay" bill, does it address how that is handled?
In this specific article, it does go through the states. I did. We'll link the article. I didn't want to tediously go through each state's policies.
I was just curious.
So here's the thing: research has pointed that inclusive policies benefit students, advising us to use the students' preferred pronouns and names, right? Some parents, however, feel that the school maybe has forced the process to move too quickly and why the parents know best, right? So for that, I just want to say schools are doing like in-services where a speaker comes and explains to the kids kind of all these things, right? And so I think the argument here is that maybe a kid that wouldn't have normally thought about this at this time has this open discussion and starts to think about it. Now, of
This
course,
is where the Fox News crowd starts to say that kids are being indoctrinated.
Right.
And like, although I don't agree, I understand why they say that.
Right. There are some kids that at a young age are starting to think about it and the conversation, and that's why the school is having these kind of, you know, in-services or in-service. I don't know if is the right word. I can't think of the word, but
like service, like you mean like somebody
talks,
comes
like
and
an
speaks
auditorium.
to them. Yeah.
Correct. Talks to the whole
Okay.
school saying this is a thing. We
Yeah.
want to respect everybody. But the
Yeah.
kids that maybe weren't thinking about it, it starts to percolate in their mind. And so parents are like, I think this maybe some schools are pushing it, right? Or schools are, because they have to address it, it's maybe for some kids pushing it a little earlier than they would have. So here's the interesting thing. LGBTQ advocates and youth counselors say that parents really need to stop scapegoating schools and instead ask themselves why they don't believe their children when they say something. Just so we have an idea, this is all unfolding as like the Republicans are really rallying around this parental rights thing about education and mental health care for kids. So it's very partisan conversation, even though it should not be, but it is. So Erica Anderson is a well-known clinical psychologist, has worked with children a ton, and herself is trans. And interestingly, she said, transitioning socially is a major and potentially life-altering decision that requires parental involvement for many reasons. She doesn't want to take anyone's identity or prerogatives away, but she does kind of side with the parents in this argument, which is interesting. That was a surprise to me. She's like, yes, you have to listen to the children and respect the pronouns, but I think that the parents are right in that they need to be a part of the conversation and need to be let in. So once again, I just want to say that each state has school guidelines that are very different. And also, this is an extremely hard thing to navigate on both sides. Like, it's hard to navigate even if you have extreme liberal values on individuality, freedom, and expression of sexuality. And a lot of times when it comes down to, and this is, you and I are going to now have an open discussion about this a little bit, it often comes down to like the medicalization of the process. They're afraid of that part. And so this isn't really completely a two-party fight.
No.
The conversation is tricky for everyone involved.
Yes.
Really, the takeaway for me before we start to talk was we have to listen to what the kids are saying and try to, as best we can, use the names and the pronouns that they want. The schools.
And that includes parents, whether they like it or not.
Right.
Like, if you want to be in on what your children are doing and not feel like things are being kept from you, then you have to be open to certain things.
And the schools towing the line, I mean, I think it's tricky. I think that something needs to be not state by state. I think there needs to be a general, ideally, a mandate that both gets the parents involved, respects the kids. We can't even get that
for abortion and women's health care, so I don't know how we're going to get that.
Respects the kids, doesn't put the onus completely on the school.
Yeah.
So how are your feelings about this? Let me get your nose on it.
My feelings are really mixed because, I would hate when I think of myself as, you know, let's say Sebastian is older and Sebastian discovers that he's trans and, you know, or maybe that he's not trans, that he's just experimenting with the possibility of being trans and wants to go by a different name. You know, I hope that I have done all the right things and created a home environment for him where he feels safe to come and talk to me about these things. And if I haven't, me being the parent that I currently am, would also hope that somebody in his life, even if that's school, would be there for him. But I do think that I am a parent that is very open and very accepting, and I would like I would want to know that this is what my kid is doing at school, just like anything else. Now, that being said, I do think, and I don't think this of every child, and I'm trying to pick my words very wisely here. I think there are going to be kids that are trying out being trans because their friends are trans.
Yeah.
I don't think it's every kid. I don't even think it's a majority of kids. I do think that for certain children, it will be something they try on. And I tried on all kinds of other things because my friends were doing it. But they should still be allowed to try that on, I think. And that's what experimenting and figuring out who you are is.
So something that I've encountered now working with children of all different kinds of ages is that, one, there's been a few kids that I have seen that, in my opinion, and again, my opinion is nothing.
Right, like what do you actually know about their home life and stuff?
In my opinion, are truly dealing with some gender dysphoria.
Yes.
I hope I'm using the right words. And have seen them struggle and be so angry and do badly in school and be so disruptive, and then to themselves and others, and then start the process of gender transitioning, whether that's medical or pronoun or all the different phases. I don't want to go into detail because I don't want to out anybody that I've worked with, and then when they are more feeling fully themselves, everything goes into place. It's like the academic stuff goes back into place, the behavioral stuff goes back into the place, and they are truly living like a really full, happy child life. I see that more rarely, but I do see that in some kids that I've worked with, and it's definite, right? But what I also see is at some of these delicate ages, the herd mentality is real, right? Yep. And so it's almost as if some outcast kids, I'm calling them outcasts because that they aren't, but I'm just saying, like, that idea of like us against the world, like kids will band together. And a lot of those kids are going through something, whether it's, anxiety.
You're just figuring out who the hell they are.
Yeah. They're not just
what their place in this world.
Yeah, but I'm saying a bunch of people that are considered outcasts or marginalized are coming together to be like us against them. We're going to protect and come in.
And when you say outcast, you're not talking about race. You're not talking about gender. You're not
I'm just saying
you're talking about like any other, like an 80s movie outcast type
kids
concept.
That feel like misfits come together and band us against them, right? And in some cases, they marginalize in the opposite direction to overcompensate sometimes. But it's a herd mentality thinking. So they want to protect and be insular. And so oftentimes they're like an amoeba. The whole thing thinks together instead of individually. And that's where the danger comes in. And that's a danger for any parent, regardless of whether it's about gender or whatever. You never want your kid to not be an individualized thinker, Yeah. And so, it's very hard. Like, I'm not in the situation, so I can't say what I would do. But I definitely feel like personally, I would have no problem, respecting them trying on different genders and names. If it came down to an irreversible medical situation, that would be a very hard decision. That would be a very hard decision.
I've tried to put myself in that situation a number of times, and I can't until I'm in that situation. Like in my mind, I'm like, all right, when a child is 18, then that's something they can do medically. But you know what? I'm not in that situation. I don't know what it feels like to be.
Yeah, if you had like a suicide, if you had a suicidal child that was like really struggling, you might feel differently.
Right. This is not my place to say how that should be handled. I'm not a professional in any way, and I do realize how damaging feeling like that can truly be for somebody. That being said, like if my kid, I agree with you. I also would be fine honoring Sebastian if he wanted to try on different pronouns and different names and like give this thing a go. That being said, I would also have a lot of conversations with him, open conversations, not threatening, not pointed, just really asking him to explore, is this herd mentality? Or is this something that you are really, truly feeling? And on top of that, despite how you and I would handle it, there are fathers, and I think Matt would be pretty open. I can't speak to Lee. I don't know. I think Matt would be pretty open. I can tell you, both sets of grandparents, I think if he came out and was totally like, listen, I am trans, then they would be, I know at the very least my parents would accept it. But I think if he's 7 years old and starts saying he's trans, I don't think that would be accepted necessarily. I think my parents would be like, he's going through a phase, and it would take a lot to, it would take accepting his, what's the word I'm looking for? It would take accepting his decision making and his own knowledge of himself for them to accept that. So he would deal with hardship in his own family, you know?
I mean,
I don't think people call him the F-bomb and stuff like that, but I don't think people would be like, oh, come on over here, Sebastiana. That's obviously not the female version of it, but whatever.
I mean, I think something that's tricky for me as an educator and a parent is that, in olden times, your gender and your sexuality used to be so entangled, right? Like they were kind of not
There weren't really
separate,
choices.
right?
Yeah.
It was like they were just more deeply entwined, gender and sexuality.
I mean, going into school, it was even like if you were a girl, you took home ec. If you were a boy, you took wood shop. Like very much intertwined. And
so for me to try to like broach some of these conversations with the students, I'm always like, I don't need to know about your sexuality. That is no one's business. That's definitely not a teacher's business. Just like you don't know mine. I don't really need to know that.
Right.
Your gender is a different thing because I want to respect that. But it is a hard thing for me to wrap my brain around all of these different nomenclatures and picayune differences, because in my mind, just from so many years of I guess the way we've always thought, having sexuality and gender be kind of intertwined, and they're not,
Yeah.
I just want to, one final word is I just want to say this is a difficult conversation on both ends of the coin. I feel for the teachers. Or all three sides of the coin, I guess. I feel for the teachers. I feel for the parents. I feel for the students. This is like a new kind of thing that we are really going to have to get on board with and navigate. Like we need to figure out how to serve our children and the education system and the parents as best we can. And for a long time, we've been failing in a lot of those different places. And I don't know what the answers are, but this needs to be—
We're certainly not succeeding.
No, and this needs to be like a really full-time commitment to figuring this out, because I'm noted. It's a really big part of my life now that I'm in education.
Yeah. I mean, listen, we're one of the greatest superpowers in the world. We are the superpower of the world, considerably, right? As a country, in terms of military and GDP and all of that other stuff. However, our education, our schools don't even rank. I don't even think they're in like the top 30 of the whole world. So there's a lot of work to be done in so many different ways.
Yeah. So guys, I would love to hear from you guys if you feel comfortable, but I'd love to hear from you guys on the educator standpoint, on the parent standpoint, kids, if you're listening, I don't know, like tell us what's going on. Like, how are you guys dealing with this? And, be kind. Don't send us like hate mail, but I am
send
curious.
It if you want. It doesn't mean we'll address it.
Right. Do what you do. Do what you need to do. But this is an interesting and important conversation to have, and I want to keep having it. So please tell us like where you're at and what your schools are doing across the country and how they're handling it. What are the wins and what are the misses? At hello@momtouragepodcast.com or hit us up in our DMs. All right, swag bag?
Yep.
Can you go first? Because I want to look up the exact name of mine.
Yep. I'm getting it so I can show you guys, for the people who are watching on YouTube, those people. So I think I've been going through this whole thing, cleaning out my closet, buying things with lots of intention, not just like buying a bunch of shit for no reason. And part of that is taking care of what I already have. And I often have sweaters that pill because that's just what sweaters do. And I have been through so many sweater depillers, shavers, whatever you want to call them, that have been highly rated on Amazon and just work like absolute crap. But I have finally found the one. The one that works and is fully worth its $18. It is the Magic Tech rechargeable fabric shaver. So firstly, it's rechargeable, so you're not going through a shit ton of batteries, which I love. Everything about it is so easy. I used to have that like blue Conair one.
I have that one.
That one sucks compared to this. This thing is, I've only used it on one sweater, and it's Matt's like, like
what's the movie about the dude? It's like the dude sweater.
Yes, it's his like Big Lebowski sweater. Yes. Exactly. So I've only used it on meaning I haven't used it on a more delicate, like a cashmere or anything. So I can't speak to how it performs on a more delicate fabric, but it completely brought this thing back to life. And then on the back, it has like, the fabric lint things that I always think are shit. These are like, when I have real lint, this is not the thing that's going to work, but it works with the depilling to like kind of when you have fabrics that are loose to kind of like grab them together and then pill it. So this thing is in our Amazon storefront and it is incredible. And I'm telling you.
How much that set you back?
$18.
Oh, I'm sorry. You already said that and I didn't hear.
No, that's okay. Throw away your Conair one because it is a piece of shit.
And it will bite through your thing.
It literally has made holes in clothes. I hate that Conair thing.
I feel like everyone had that Conair one.
It's the one that always has like a really high rating and stuff. Right. I don't even remember what the rating is for this, but somehow I found it a while ago and I just started to use it and I have no regrets. It's so good.
Awesome. So I have been on a Trader Joe's kick lately.
Best way to make your easy dinners.
And so I'm going to recommend the vitamin C firming body butter from Trader Joe's. It's got some glycolic business in it because my skin has been scaly and weird and I get those like little dots, the chicken skin dots. It has a light citrus odor. I just needed to thicken up my routine. I was like doubling up lotion. And so this is thicker. It's a body butter and it's cheap. And
I'm going to tell you specifically, before you buy too much Trader Joe's bath type stuff, I have been through so much. So if you want, text me before you make purchases because a lot of it isn't good. I have not tried the one you got, but a lot of their stuff is shit.
I have tried their other body butters, but this one I like.
Like their shampoos and conditioners are awful. Yeah. They're like there's so much of their like body stuff is not good. So before you buy it, let me know. And if I've used it, I will
tell you. Yes.
Yes, because it even at $4.99, sometimes this shit's just not worth it. And then you're stuck with it.
Well, thanks guys. It's been real.
Bye guys.
Bye.